It's almost like I subconsciously knew. I was sitting at a park bench just now and heard some girl screaming, so I was like, you know what? I think I've sat here long enough. Walk the opposite direction because it's none of my business. Mind your own fucking business, people. Now I get a little ways down the road and all of a sudden I hear a cop car coming the same direction that I was just leaving. I get a little bit further down the way and turn the corner, and next thing I see, 3 additional cops all in a row fucking with their lights on going in the same direction I just left. So needless to say, I ain't none of my business. I ain't trying to get caught up in all that. I don't know what the fuck that is, and not my goddamn problem. Not my goddamn motherfucking problem, okay? All you gotta say. I'm just a Marvel. I'm just a human being. I'm not a Marvel fucking movie character. I can only do so much for a person. I ain't trying to be all up in someone's business like that. There's crazy shit that's happening every single day in the city of Missoula. And you know what I say to all that crazy shit in the city of Missoula? It's not my goddamn problem. Not my goddamn problem. I told you guys the story of when I was sitting on a bench near the train tracks and I had a crowd 10 deep just descend on me and decide, hey, we want to sit down on this spot too. I just felt crowded and went about my way. Because I already know what happens when a crowd of drunk people 10 deep or more get together. Native Americans especially, and nothing against the Native Americans, you're all wonderful people. But some of your fucking uncles and aunties and nieces and nephews are little shitheads, okay? I saw a woman this morning fucking taking a mad leak. Wasn't even squatting. I was like, my eyes! My eyes! Even the other day, I felt like a dick to these 3 people. They walked up and they're like, hey man, you want a drink? I don't drink. And they're all finna just sit down and hang out. And I was like, I wasn't really trying to hang out with anybody right now though. Because I'm not, let's be honest. You get a fucking moment of peace and quiet, or you have some company 3 deep and they're all just yelling and piss drunk. You ain't heard a fucking crazy laugh until you've heard a group of drunk native people laugh. I just imagine if you're in a dark forest somewhere and you hear a crowd of laughter just like that in the middle of the night, you're like, oh shit. You just hear this laughing getting louder as they get closer and closer, and you're thinking to yourself, oh shit. No, they were chill. They left me alone, and the ringleader gave me a little glare later that night, but nothing personal. I just have a certain level of energy, and I prefer not to have people who are on these high energy waves around me. I'm sure a lot of these people are wonderful when they're sober, but I just can't imagine myself being that drunk ever again. Sometimes I smoke this ganja and I think to myself, I would never want to be that high, as high as some people are getting around here. I just could never imagine being on that level in that kind of way in a public environment. I once tried to take 3 tabs and wander around exactly where I'm at right now on a busy weekend. I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And then I never even made it this far. I was in the park. I saw some homeless person laying on the ground, and I just freaked me out. It sent me into this bad trip, and I went back to my car where I had parked it because I was still homeless at the time. I had to put on this group called Magic Sword and listen to their album, and something about the music just started to make me feel a lot better. Thought to myself, I'm silly. What a fucking idiot. You're just tripping for nothing. But then I had to really pee super bad, so I had to keep going into the Walmart, and that was a trip in and of itself. I'm sure I looked completely fucked up every time I had a big old grin on my face. I saw myself in the mirror. I was like, I wasn't even trying to act sober. In that state of mind, I was solely focused on relieving myself. And it was quite relieving, if you ask me. I had to do that about 4 times in what felt like 30 whole minutes. Sometimes I wish I could see a recording of me when I was that fucked up. Most fucked up I'd ever been in my whole life was in Bozeman, Montana. We won't get into the story of how I got there, but the day was Black Friday. You know, that anniversary is soon approaching, the day before Thanksgiving. I think I started the day off with a fucking 40-ounce Still Reserve or some shit like that. And then the friends that I was hanging out with, you know, they were rounding up some random things. I think there was like a Huckleberry IPA at some point in the mix. There was a water jug and it was filled up with all sorts of miscellaneous things. I believe the Huckleberry IPA got poured in there. There was some Everclear in there. I'm sure there was some vodka, like some Mike's Hard Lemonade, a whole bunch of this and that. Think of a Jungle Juice. And we were just sipping on it heavy. It was going down clean because I was so fucked up already. And I was feeling good. My whole body was buzzing. Everything was tingling. I was smiling and just being a fucking ridiculous animal. You know, we started to take some dabs at some point, and that's what ruined it for me. I was just like, ugh. I was in the women's bathroom for like 3 straight hours in the Bozeman Downtown Transfer Center, much at a place like this. 3 whole hours just barfing my guts out, maybe even longer. At some point, they got me out of the women's bathroom finally because some woman had saw me, and she's just like, and so I finally managed to sober myself up enough to get to the men's bathroom where I laid for an additional hour, just dry heaving there, trying to put water in my body and fucking, here, smoke this weed out of a can pipe. I was fucked up, you guys. I was so fucked up, and you know, it was embarrassing when I think about it, but I'll never want to be that fucked up again. And if I am that fucked up, I want to be in a safe environment, a place where I can pass out in a safe place, or you know, wake up and it's like, oh, here's the bathroom, here's some food, here's some water, you know, here's some time to collect your fucking wits, you know. And I never want to be that fucked up again. And I can't imagine how some people do that every single day. I can't imagine how some people are on them uppers that just make them race a million miles an hour for fucking days up straight. I couldn't do that shit. I need to sleep. I like to eat food. I think it's wild that, you know, there's couples that smoke meth together and then the man's like, yeah, I can't get it up. I can't get it up. Yeah, that shit's too fucking soft. You know, the meth is fucking my taco. I don't want to be that high. Come on now. Yep, whiskey dick. Sorry, babe. Not tonight. It's happened. It happens. It's okay. You know, they call me Whiskey Dick Walker. You know, one famous nickname I got, hopefully people still talk about him, the legend of Wallocker Walker. What an experience. And I won't tell you that story. I'll let the people that know about Wallocker Walker, because those were some funny times, and I don't know why I was in a wall locker. The guy definitely gave me that nickname, Wall Locker Walker. Okay, I was in the army and, you know, I was trying to skip PT. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking or how they wouldn't find me, but I put myself in a fucking wall locker, and then the staff sergeant opens the wall locker, looks me dead in the eyes. You should have seen him. Staff Sergeant Norgard, his eyes were like bright blue. Walker, what are you doing in here? Safe to say, my sergeants did not like Jizzle D Freak, because Jizzle D Freak was a shitty fucking soldier. You know, if I knew then what I didn't know, if I knew then what I knew now, you know, I'd probably be a whole different soldier. You know, I definitely feel like that was an opportunity that I wasted. I was going to AIT to be SATCOM 25 Sierra. There's supposed to be a $40,000 bonus after AIT. I fucked that up. I fucked that up so bad. Could have had one of those really good jobs, you know. Could have had a house. Probably would have found a wife, had kids, settled the fuck down. And, you know, this person that posts these videos every day for what feels like no reason, you know, be living an entirely different life. Maybe I'd be the guy looking down on everyone else because they didn't have as much money as me, because they didn't have as many nice things as me, because they didn't have a fucking job quite like mine, because they didn't have the fucking discipline that I do. You know, and maybe I would have had to go to war, and maybe blood would have got on my hands, and maybe I would have had to live with those kind of, that guiltiness, you know, that shame.
I thought I was fighting for freedom. Little did I know I was fighting for something else.